I think baskets are always popular, and I love having baskets around the house to put stuff in, and I figured the dolls in the dollhouse would too. So stay tuned and see how fun and easy this little basket is to make. Alright, for this project I've done some prep work off camera, and I'll detail more details about everything in the blog post. So the link for that is always in the description box, and I'll try to remember to pin a post that has the link also below the video. But ahead of time, I have cut a piece of 1x2 lumber. This is a piece of pine 1x2, which means it's not 1 inch by 2 inches, it's 3/4 of an inch by 1.5 inches. And I'll explain that in the blog post also. I'll not waste time detailing that, why that is the case, but on the video, but I've done that. I'll do that in the blog. And then I've covered it pretty well with some pieces of parchment paper. So this becomes a fairly non-stick surface, which is really important. Now you could vary the size of this block depending on what size you want your finished basket, but all my measurements today are based on doing a basket on this size. So if you want to move, change them around, that's cool. You'll just have to do some different measurements maybe. Then I cut around a dozen or more pieces of craft cardstock across the width of the paper that are 1/8 inch wide. And I cut extra. I've obviously got more here than a dozen. You'll need I think 11 is the minimum number you'll want. I recommend cutting at least 12. I think I cut 16. I'd rather have extra than have to go back and cut in the middle of the project. 7 of those I cut in half, so they're around a little over 4 inches in length, and those we're going to start with. I also have some small pieces of masking tape. I have a little portable palette here, we'll call it, for some tacky glue. I have a toothpick. We're going to start by taking 5 of these pieces, and we're not going to tape them all at once. It's 3, 4, 5. All right. Now I like to do these in groups. I'm going to do 3 of them first. I'm going to line up one end fairly close, and I'm going to tape really close to the end. Take the other 2, butt them right up against those 2, so that they are laying nice and flat and even. They don't have to be perfect, but you want to get the maximum out of this length as you can. Now I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to mark down approximately 2 inches on one of these, because I want to start weaving from the middle, work towards one end, and then flip it around and weave the other end. My glue is handy, as is a toothpick. So we are going to, and I'm not going to show every step all the way through. I'll do part of them, and then I'll go off camera and do the rest. Now we're going to go. Doesn't matter if you start over or under the first one, just be consistent. I'm going to move that up to there. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so that I can glue the first piece. And then I'm going to move it over so I can glue it there. Line that up, making sure that it's running fairly perpendicular, meaning at a 90-degree angle to our strips that are laying flat. And try not to have these be crooked. You want these 5 to remain pretty straight and close together. Trying to make sure I have pretty much a right angle here. In fact, I'm going to use my, oops, then I knocked it out of square there. And I'm actually going to grab my masking tape, and I'm going to tape this down just a little bit once I'm happy with how it's sitting. Because how straight this particular piece is going to determine how straight your entire project remains. Now pick up another one, and I recommend having some kind of a little pointy tool. I've got my dental pick that I use for clay work. The ones that you went under on the last row, you're going to go, oops, you're going to go over and vice versa. And we're going to snug that right up pretty much as close as we can. I want this, come on. I want this to be pretty tightly woven. I want to have a nice solid bottom. Now, I'm going to go back. Come on. And they'll move around. You just don't want that first one to move at this point. And if you have a different way of getting yours put together that works better for you, go for it. Use a ball stylus for part of this. I want to move it up without scraping my paper. We're going to do 4 pieces, and then we're going to do some gluing. Now spend some time getting these all up and nice and tight, as close together as you can, and straight. And try and get them fairly even there. Then, see if I can do this so you can see it. I'm not going to do all of these on camera. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up, and it's okay if glue is out on the outside. We are going to put a coat of matte Mod Podge over the finished basket to help give it some durability. So if you get glue on the outside and it makes a mark, don't worry about it. I'm going to also lift these 2 up on each side. Anything that's on top that's got a loose end, I'm going to tuck some glue under. And then I'm going to put something kind of heavy and non-stick on top of this and let this glue dry. And when that's dry, I'll come back and we'll do the other side. So I'll be back in just a sec. All right, that glue is fairly well dried. So now we're going to peel this off the tray. It only takes a few seconds. And then I am going to tape this back down though. Not because it needs to stay straight. I want to do that so that it doesn't move, so it doesn't move around the tray on me. Same process. I'm going to put 4 more, which means I've got an extra. 4 more in, just like I did here, trying to keep them pretty tight and pretty straight. And I find it's easiest for me if I just lift up the ones I'm going to go under. You might have a different way that works better for you. Whatever works the best for you to get this done, okay? This is not a process that's really particular. And I'm just going to lift this up. Let's see if I can do it this way. Might be quicker. Because I don't need to straighten these until I get them all in and get ready to glue. All right, now it's time. See how that one is wanting to be crooked, so I want to get it nice and straight. So I am going to go ahead and get glue tucked under all these loose edges, and then when that dries, I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. I want all these joints here to be glued, because that will keep our bottom of our basket nice and tightly woven, and then when we put it onto our block, it won't come apart on us. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get that all done. When that's done and I'm ready to put it on the block, I'll come back and we'll do that together. Quick note, I haven't got this all glued yet, but I did notice I did a quick fitting and I had to take one of these pieces out because it just was not fitting my block. My paper strips on this time around are not going together as closely as they did on my last basket I made. So make sure at this point before your glue dries that you fit your block and make sure that the pieces line up with it. So that was just a quick note. Now let's let this glue dry. All right, now that the glue has had time to get completely dry, we are going to do some pre-bending. We're going to bend this up so that these bend completely even with that end. And we're going to do the same thing on all four sides. And if you glued some together, that's okay. They'll come apart. It's just little tiny edges. Kind of use your fingernail underneath to support the ones that maybe don't want to bend up exactly where you want them to. But by doing this, it's going to keep the bottom more flat. If we just try to gather them up around our mold, we're liable to bend things crooked. Now I kind of played around with how to make this easier for me, and I'm hoping that the same method will be easy for you guys too. One of the problems I was running into was trying to keep this on my form straight and the way I wanted it without losing track of which pieces I wanted. So what I decided to do was use a rubber band. Get one that's small that will fit pretty tight. Get this pulled up to where you want it and make sure these pieces all get straightened out on the ends. And see how these first two sides go. I might turn the camera off and fiddle with this off camera just to save you guys some time so the video doesn't get too long. Well, it looks like it's going to straighten out pretty quickly. I will turn the camera off after I show you what I'm going to do for the next step though. So now pick a spot, any spot. I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to reach under this one and pull it out from under the rubber band. Then I'm going to skip one and I'm going to pull that one out. So we're going to pull every other one out from under the rubber band. And then we're going to go around the corner. This one was out, so this will be under. Pull this one out. I'm going to go all the way around, and when I get done, I'll come back and we'll go to the next step. All right, now I've got those all free, and see every other one is underneath the rubber band. That way the rubber band is kind of acting like an extra hand or two. It's holding this together. So now I'm going to pick a spot where I'm okay with starting my strip. And I think I'm going to start it right here, and then I will end it under this one. And I'm going to go this way. So I'm going to dip the end of this into some glue. Whoops. I'm going to stick it right on that one right there. I'm attempting to stay under camera and still see what I'm doing. And excuse the clumping around outside. We had a significant snowfall, and I think every child in the building and their parents have been running out to go play in the snow. And I'm right next to the door, the outside door, so. All right. Now, I'm going to cut this so it lands underneath this one. It's going to overlap over this one and end there. So my scissors, I should have brought my smaller scissors and I forgot. Now I'm going to put some glue under there. And I'm actually going to hit right there with some glue also. And then I'm going to pull all these down. And since this is the first row, I am going to make sure this is tight, make sure it's right where I want it. I'm going to give this a little extra drying time than I normally would. So I am going to go around. I'm going to dot just a little bit of glue wherever one of these is going to come down. I'm going to continue all the way around and do that, and I've got a second rubber band I'm going to put around and hold all of these down so that this row can completely dry before I move on to the second row, because I don't want this to move once I get it in place. So I'm going to do that. I'll take some photos of it as I go, and those will be on the blog post, and I'll be back when this dries. All right, that's all dried now. So now we're going to go around. I've kind of moved my rubber band. I took the extra rubber band off, so I've got one left on here again. Now, any of them that we went across over last time, we're going to pull out. So we went under this one, so it stays under the rubber band. This one's under, this one's out. And we're going to go like this, and like this. And the ends are going to be the hardest because they are the closest together. And the ends are also where you're going to find the most tendency of your pieces to try to go crooked, and that's okay. Just watch them, know that that's an issue, and go back and check that a couple of times. Almost done. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off and get all the way around, and then I'll be back. All right, I got all those out. Now I'm going to just kind of bend these back gently so they're out of my way, so I don't get on the wrong side of anybody. And I was trying to figure out where I started the last row, and I can't find the spot, so I really hit it well. So I'm just going to pick a spot that looks like it won't show too badly. Take another full strip. Always start this with a full strip. I'm going to dip it into my glue. And I guess I'll start on the end. Yeah, I don't remember where I started last time. It doesn't matter. Come on. And you kind of have to hold it in place a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put a dab of glue on the one that's the first one that's going to go over. Okay. No, I'm not, because I'm going to need that up later. Never mind, forget that. I'm going to go around. Come on. And you do have to kind of hold this first part a little while sometimes in order to get it to cooperate. Reinforce that bend. And once again, I forgot to bring my small pair of scissors over. I never think of it until I'm like ready to cut. Hopefully I'm staying under camera somewhat here, but it's the same process we did before. We're going to get some glue. Put some glue on the end of that. I'm going to put some there, I'm going to put some here, and I'm going to put some here. So all the places on this end have glue. Don't worry about it getting on here. That's why we covered with parchment, so that we won't have to worry about it gluing down permanently. And then use your tools. Kind of get this all moved right where you want it. And then I'm going to hold this for a few minutes to get it to stay glued. Then I'm going to go through, I'm going to glue where all these joints are all the way around. I'm going to put this rubber band over the whole thing until it dries, and then I'll come back and tell you about the next step. Alright, that glue is dry. So again, I have taken off the rubber band that was around, just the ones that we went over last time. And I'm just going to start this, and I'll turn the camera off again because I'm just going to repeat the same thing. Whatever we went across was left down last time, we're going to pull out. Just continuing our weaving pattern. I'm going to do one more layer, one more row just like this, and then we'll do the finishing of the top. So I don't think you need to, we probably don't need to have that on the camera on for that. It's simple, just starting the strip, gluing it on, going around, weaving it, pulling the pieces up, and doing some glue. So when that's done, I'll turn the camera on, we'll take this off the form, we'll get ready to do the top rim. Alright, this is a good point in time to make sure that you can get this off. I did have a little struggle because I don't have parchment paper all the way to the ends, and there's a spot right here in the corner where mine decided to glue itself. So take it off, get it back on, and then all the ones that you had lifted up last time we're going to leave up. The ones that go under the last row, we're going to fold over and then trim so they go down about half the length, half the width of that strip that we just did. This way we can glue these down and they'll be nice and secure, and the ones that we already glued, they'll be held down by the trim strip we're going to put on now. So I'll trim these. I want to trim after I get the next strip on. These I want to have under the next strip. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, I will say I did have a slight moment of panic when I went to loosen this from the block. What I ended up doing was running my pointy tool down around the corners and kind of wiggling. So I'm going to work my way all the way around. When I get all of these trimmed, I will be back and we will put the trim on. Alright, so I've trimmed those all off, and I've gone around and I've put glue on the underside of all of those little tabs we just folded down. Now I'm just going to let that sit there. I'm going to take one of our whole strips that we haven't trimmed, and we are going to put glue on the whole back of it, or on part of it. I'm not going to do the whole thing at once. I'm going to do some, lay it down, and then work a little bit at a time. But I'll get enough started there. For this, I think I'm going to start in a corner. You can start wherever you feel like you want to, wherever feels good to you. And this is one of those points in time where it feels like you need 3 hands. Whoops, I didn't put any glue under those, apparently. Either I didn't put any glue under those or they already dried. Kind of use your outside trim strip to help you hold those down. And I'm going to work the rest of the way around because it's going to be really hard to keep this under camera and keep it where I can see it. But I'm just going to work my way around, adding glue, bending this around, holding it till it wants to stay. And when this is all on, I'll trim it and let it dry. I'll probably hold on to it until it dries a bit. So when this trim strip is all the way glued down and dried, I will come back and we'll go to the next step. All right, so this is dried actually overnight. So now we are going to do some trimming. I have my scissors here, and we're going to trim those inside pieces to be even with the top. And you might have to work at it a little bit. You just want to get everything nice and even. There. We have a basket. Now, to make this look even better, make it look a little bit more like a real basket, and also to make it a little stronger, we're going to give it a nice coat of matte Mod Podge. And once again, I'm using my matte Mod Podge and one of my brushes that the nice people at Plaid sent me. I like to start with the inside. It's just a quick coat. After I do the inside, I'm going to do the outside and set it upside down to dry on my tray. Get that rim done, and then I can just set it down and finish it off. And then this will need to dry, and then it will be ready to put in the dollhouse. So I'm going to finish up with this, and when it's dry, I'll come back and we will look at the finished basket. All right, our basket is finished, and I've got another one I made earlier, kind of when I was figuring out how to do this. I love these, and I can see myself making a lot of these. They don't have to be in this color. You can make them in white. You can make them in colors. You can make the top band a contrasting color. There's so many options with this project, and they're going to look so cute in the dollhouse, just sitting. And even better if you put something in them. I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you did, hit the like button, leave me a comment. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I invite you to hit that subscription button and the notification bell so YouTube can tell you when I put up a new video. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.